My name is Dr. Amanda Smyth. I am something called a departmental lecturer, which is a researcher at the University of Oxford at the Department of Engineering Science. That basically means that I do research in the topic of engineering, and I specialize in fluid mechanics, anything to do with gases or liquids, how they move, how they interact with objects, and how we can use the physics of fluids to do cool stuff like generate power or try to make sure that airplanes stay in the sky and things like that. Tidal power as a source of energy is a renewable source of energy that functions in a way that's very similar to wind power. So much like you use a wind turbine to harvest energy from the wind, you have the sort of big turbines that spin around. If you have any sort of moving wind that you can harvest power from that, you can do exactly the same thing in the ocean tides or even ocean streams if you have a strong current. But you have exactly the same thing where you have a moving body of water, which is a moving fluid that moves. In the case of tidal, it moves through because of the interaction through gravitational interaction with the moon, and that drives the tides and makes the water move. And if we put a turbine in that, we can generate power from the tides. Yeah, so the advantage of tidal power compared to wind power, the most obvious thing is predictability. So if you've seen the things about wind power in the news, one thing you might see sometimes is that you sometimes have very high winds and that generates lots of power, and sometimes you don't have any wind at all for long periods of time, and then you can't generate any wind power. So wind is a very intermittent resource and it's very unpredictable. So you don't know when exactly the wind is going to blow. So it's hard to plan in advance how much wind power you're going to be able to get out of a certain site, and exactly when it's going to happen. So the benefit with tidal power is tides are still very intermittent. They move back and forth in the UK about twice a day. So it's very intermittent, but it's completely predictable. So we know exactly when it's going to happen. So even though we have both high tide and low tide, so we have we have periods of times when we can't generate energy, but we know exactly when it's going to be. So what you can do with that is hypothetically, you could, for example, use battery storage to sort of store some energy during the times when you don't have very much tides flowing. It can look a little bit different. So one challenge that we have in general with researching power generation is that we in the lab work on very small scales, whereas an actual device would be very large scale. And that is constantly a challenge for us when we're trying to sort of predict what's going to happen to a full scale device when all we have are very small scale devices. So one of the ways we try to overcome that, well, first of all, we try to build our labs as large as we can. But the other thing we do is we supplement our lab work, our sort of experimental studies with simulations and computational models that are more based on the large scale problem. So for me, myself, I'm actually specializing in computational studies of tidal power and developing theoretical models of tidal power. So I work mostly on a computer, which means I use simulation software and the fluid dynamic simulations to try to figure out what would happen to a device in a real flow. You need this combination of having a viable site and having a technology that can withstand the forces and can survive and generate power in a cost-effective way. So that is a very big challenge for tidal energy developers. So where we can help as academics there is trying to do the research to come up with these solutions that optimize tidal energy extraction so that we can bring down the cost as much as possible. So in 10 years, I think it can really go both ways. I think either we can really have an explosion and expansion of this technology to be deployed at various sites in the UK and the world, or we are still kind of stuck on the cost effectiveness problem, and which will ultimately make tidal energy struggle to get off the ground. It's funny because it's not everyone has a very strong idea what they want to do from the very start. I think certainly quite few people know really what they want to do. For me, it was very much a process of elimination. When I was choosing my university degree, I knew I wanted to do engineering because I liked mathematics, I liked physics, but I really wanted to work on kind of real world problems, being able to solve problems that were affecting people's day to day. So to me, that seemed like engineering was a good fit. When I went into engineering education, I tried out a lot of different things. I tried to choose a very broad course because I wanted to try a little bit of everything. And I basically went through a process of like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And then I ended up with fluid mechanics. And I really, ultimately, I'm more of a fluid mechanics expert than I am a tidal energy expert. I really enjoy working with fluid mechanics. To me, it's the ultimate combination of mathematics and physics. Plus, you can make very pretty pictures of flow fields. And working with water is what I do. So I really enjoy that